Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in this latest video. This is of a very interesting case, so I'll just give you the backstory. Now, this is the patient's left ear, however, this is their better ear. Their right ear, unfortunately, I wasn't able to remove fully today. I have kept the video, so we are getting the patient back early next week. Then you're going to have to use some drops to further assist. So they were in complete agony, mainly on the right, but also in this left ear. They saw an emergency doctor earlier on, and they were advised to come to see myself to see if we can get this blockage out. And they do suffer from chronic wax impaction. They reported that they last had their ears cleaned around 6 months ago whilst they were abroad. And in the last few weeks, their symptoms have gradually got worse. But this morning they had a bit of discomfort, and they used a cotton bud on this is the right side, and it really impacted that wax. The right side is one of the worst that I've probably attempted to remove, and this one wasn't too far off, if truth be told. Now, with the right side, fortunately, we managed to remove enough wax whereby the hearing is significantly improved and they're no longer experiencing that earache. So that's fantastic. But there is still wax in the right ear. We need to remove that. And I did everything I could today. You'll see it on the video when I upload it next week after the patient comes back. But it just wasn't going to happen. And when a patient's got an earache already, it just makes it a lot more complex because they already got a painful ear and you're trying to remove the wax from their ear, and their ear's obviously already tender and sensitive, and unless you use a local anaesthetic or gel anaesthetic, you're going to in some way add to that pain. Now, to the patient's credit, they did it marvellously well. I was really impressed by how still they were, considering how much pain there was. And that last plug of wax, it was engulfed, so the ear canal was really swollen, and when the ear canal swells, it can almost trap the wax. It swells over the wax and it plugs it in, so you can't really, it's really hard to remove, and it'll stuck to the eardrum. Anyway, you'll see that hopefully next week. So this is their left ear, the better of the two. Now, what makes this procedure a bit more difficult, even on the right side, is that the colour of the wax kind of camouflages itself against the colour of the patient's skin. So that always makes it a bit more tricky. So the patient's got, this wax has been there for a while. They said they did get it removed 6 months ago, but I'm not sure if it was fully removed, given how impacted and the colour of the wax. And I've removed the outer plug, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. This wax plug extends all the way to the eardrum, and if you continue to watch, you'll see near the end, I was using the ear hook, and it came to a point where the wax plug was so hard that the ear hook that I was using, I felt it was going to snap in the ear, because despite managing to get behind the wax plug, as I was pulling it, it was so much resistance, it was so hard. So what we've done here, I've just really stretched the ear, and I've tried to get the hook in as deep as possible, but it's not going to go any further than that. So I've decided to then rotate the hook so the tip is embedded within the core, the centre of the wax, and at the same time I'm trying to bring it forwards, but instead of bringing the whole wax plug forwards, it's just dissecting it and breaking it up into pieces, which is not always a bad thing. Sometimes I use a hook for that particular sole purpose, and by chiseling the wax into little small pieces, you can then slowly bring out the small pieces and eventually the plug. And I'm just trying to get a suction grip here, but it's a bit too firm. It's very hard to use any other instrumentation here because, for example, with forceps, you would need to grab onto something. Now, potentially you can probably grab underneath, but because this plug is somewhat mobile, you'll see that it is wriggling around, and as you're getting the forceps underneath, if that is possible, because that would be quite tricky to do, you would be pushing this plug further in initially, which can be quite uncomfortable for the patient. And as I said, although it's the right ear that they had severe earache, they were also experiencing pain in this side. So I'm just trying to bring this a bit forwards because I kind of realised this is only going to come out with a hook. So I'm just trying to bring it forwards, and I had to revert to a metal hook, in a St. Bart's hook. Now, I don't often use metal one purely for the purposes that when we're doing our clear wax training, I don't really want to be training delegates who are completely new to earwax with metal instruments. So you can get metal ear hooks, jobs and horns, Cawthorn hooks, etc. And they can obviously cause a lot more trauma. And so I always try to avoid using metal instruments in my procedures, because if I'm going to be training people, I don't want them to being trained what I'm using, and obviously they're watching the video, so I don't want to be using all these metal instruments in my videos and then people are watching it, but when it comes to training, I'm training on carbon fibre. So we're using a carbon fibre now. Carbon fibre hooks and scoops are really, really good. I mean, I've never rarely have to use a metal one, and probably about one a year, I would say, or maybe 2 a year I would have to. But in this case, I needed to revert to a metal hook. Now, for anyone who's been trained in earwax removal, I always recommend using carbon fibre ones initially, because they are slightly elastic, and although they themselves can cause serious trauma and injury in the ear, they're far less likely to cause injury and trauma compared to a metal one. So you can see with this hook, I've managed to get it in and behind. There's an opening at the roof, and I've brought this forwards, this plug, and I was kind of hoping after I remove this, it would all come out. But so I removed this section of it. Now, you guys are going to hate me, but I didn't have time to take a video. Now, what we did, I started off with this patient's right ear. I removed the majority of the occlusion, but I kind of realised that last section that was engulfed deep in the ear and attached to the eardrum, that would need some drops. So I put some sodium bicarbonate drops in that case. But I said to the patient, let's just deal with your left side, because I knew that was going to be really, really complex. So I said, we've done the majority of the right, let's revert to the left ear. And then we will go, once we've done the left ear, we'll go back to finish the right. So that was the order of events in this particular procedure. So you can see I've brought this again to the front. I don't know if it was this part where I just felt the hook just didn't seem strong enough for the job. I think it might be, here we are. So I've reverted to a metal St. Bart's hook. And the patient did so well, because it was so painful for them when I removed that, and I managed to get it out. Yeah, so I forgot to take the images, just because obviously after this left it, I went straight back to the right. We took up a lot of time in the appointment. We had to extend it because it was so complex. But that's the left side, job done. Patient's really happy. They could also hear from the right, but I will upload the right video next week after they revisit, and you'll see if I bring it all together, it'll be a bit easier viewing. So I just want to wish you all well and hope you're all keeping good. And remember, please be nice and be kind to each other. Thank you. Bye.